doing what they need to do, then how easy is it to do that? And when we talk about state capture in this day and age, do you see us getting to that point where we are now able to, adhere to the Constitution?
Well, thank you. And I like what my panelists are saying, because they are clearly highlighting what you were speaking about earlier: impunity, corruption, and incompetence. And I'd like to draw our attention to Mwongozo. Mwongozo is a code of governance for all state corporations in Kenya, where it gives us direction on how to hire, how to do balancing, meritocracy, competencies, and all the codes of conduct for office bearers in any department, ministry, or agency. Now, like what Hans is saying, is just how that has been violated. You hire your cronies, you mismanage resources. That is what you're talking about: corruption, incompetence, and impunity. But we have enough laws in this country. The challenge is that we do not subscribe to them. So the issue is not the Constitution. The Constitution has provided for each and every office and setup in our society. The problem we have is that the characters that we have in office are the people who do not interpret very well as they should what the spirit of the Constitution envisaged for the Kenyans, or the people that they serve. And that's now where we have the disconnect, as you're asking. How do we then recall them? How do we then get them out of office? How do we have them impeached? And how easy is it? I would like to thank this regime of President William Ruto, because it made us to be very civically educated. Now everybody talks about the Constitution, everybody talks about their right. There is not much that they are going to achieve for the remaining 2 years, but they have done a greater good to help people understand what the Constitution says.
The youth leaders don't agree with that.
Well, a lot of people will say, even in the village, Katiba inasema aje. What is the Constitution saying? You'll even hear people saying, my right, ni haki yangu. That's why you see people even speaking up to policemen. Nowadays, people are not as afraid. They're afraid of abductions, but there was a time a policeman was a person not to approach. But you see people, there's an improved in terms of relationship, where people appreciate policemen as fellow Kenyans whom you can walk into an office and ask or state or report matters. So there has been some changes now, although we keep making 3 steps forward and 2 steps backward, so we only end up with a single step moving on. But what I'm trying to allude to, in principle, is that nowadays people are very woke, politically, civically woke. People are trying to ask, okay, you as a president, that's why you have heard a lot of people saying, when a president makes a roadside declaration, and people say, ni uongo, it's a lie, because they know the Constitution does not provide for that. It's not the days of Moi where a president will wake up high and fire you just in a rally. Today, even appointment of a CS or any other serious position, it is, there's an appointment, you are vetted, and then you are approved. So we have processes and procedures that we should observe as a country for us to experience the good leadership that we desire. But it goes back to us as a people. What kind of people do we put in office? When we vote for members of parliament who cannot even present a bill, a motion in parliament, how do you expect them to represent you? Hans spoke about corruption, bribery during voting. That is not the fault of the Constitution.
Right.
That is not the fault of the candidate themselves. It is the fault of us as the people. It is our fault. It's our shortcoming, us as a people. Because you demand money to vote for somebody, and then what do you expect? It is an investment they have made. So we have to go back to an issue-based conversation. And then we hopefully will end up with people who understand what we want them to do for us. And if we do that and we subscribe to the Constitution again and obey the rule of law, we have systems on how to recall, how to fire, and how to impeach. Each and every office is well prescribed. The problem I see us having is that this Stone Age thinking that our cultural heritage, our tribes, our socio-local setup is like a, it's like a disease. It's a bad thing to have. For you to belong to a certain tribe is what is ailing us. We have to be proud of our cultural heritage. We have to appreciate where we come from as a people and use that to progress socially, economically, and politically. But unfortunately, we use it to divide ourselves. Yet, we know We will never be equal in terms of numbers,
Yeah.
in terms of where you come from. You know, these are matters of, even in the jungle, you have lions, you have zebras, you have gazelles, but they all live harmoniously. We need to create an ecosystem of a government that serves all the people. Because at any given time in Kenya, we can only have one president. So that a president must have come from somewhere. This issue of saying mtu wetu is the one who is in office. We have to understand, when you have a CES who is from your tribe, a CS education, it does not make education free for you just because he's from your tribe. So you need a person in office who understands policy formulation, dissemination of information, allocation of resources, and how we distribute now the services. Public policy should do what is leading us and make us all come together and have a unity of purpose, form a government that is functional.
All right. Faith, as we wind up this conversation, now how do we work around our ways, you know, around claiming the constitutional space? We're talking about civic education, even as much as you're saying, if you go to the counties, mashinani, utasikia katiba inasema vipi, but civic education is still low and civic education is still underfunded in the country. So how do we work our way around just claiming that constitutional space?
Okay, so the only way we can be able to realize the full promise of the 2010